Welcome to the Mimeoplasm. As far as our opening hand goes, yeah, I like this. We're going to keep on this one. Nothing too crazy in our opening hand. We have Temple of Malady, get some scrying going. We do have a fetch land, and we do have mulch, so I'll definitely like this hand. Good utility hand. Let's go ahead and lead off with Temple of Malady, get the scry going, the scurry, the fever, the insanity, the dissented. All right, lightning greaves. Yeah, let's go and put that on top. That'll be some good protection, especially against Grimgrin. So let's go ahead and pass the turn to our opponent, and let's get Mimeoplasm pop back up. And yes, welcome to everybody's favorite 1960s horror monster. Hopefully we can get some really good Soul Tie Reanimator going for you. We are playing the Mimeoplasm. As Mimeoplasm enters the battlefield, you may exile two creature cards from graveyards, and that will include our opponent's graveyard. And I'll cover the rest of that in just a second. Let's go and go for Polluted Delta. Let's go and get down blue-green source. Let's go and grab that Tropical Island, and we'll go and go for Mulch. There we go. Tropical Island, let's go for mulch. Need to put all four cards in our hand, or all cards revealed this way, lane cards into our hand, and that actually works out perfectly. Anything else, kick it back over to our opponent. But yes, Mimeoplasm is going to enter the battlefield as a copy of one creature card in a graveyard, and then choose another creature card that's going to enter the battlefield with additional +1 counters on it, equal to that creature's power. We are playing against Grimgrin Corpseborn, so it should be a fun little horror matchup on this one. Enters the battlefield tapped and does not untap during your untap step. Sacrifice another creature. Untap Grimgrin and untap Grimgrin and put a +1 counter on it. Then whenever Grimgrin attacks, destroy target creature defending player controls. Then put a +1 counter on Grimgrin. All right, so we draw into Buried Alive. That's actually works out really well. Man, I wish we could grab Life from the Loam off Buried Alive. That'd be so nice. Let's go ahead and get down Urborg. How do we want to sequence this one? We can end up going for Worldly Tutor on Hedron Crab. I think that would be pretty good. Okay, let's do this. Let's go for Buried Alive. Let's kind of get our graveyard set up on this one. We'll grab 3 creature cards off this one. Let's get it popped up. Let's go for Lord of the Void. That'll be a fun reanimator target to go for. Let's go for Lord of the Void. We do have a Bugface in our hand, and we also do have another kind of protection in our hand too over here. So let's go for Lord of the Void, Invisible Stalker. This will be unblockable. And let's go for Phyrexian Dreadnought. That'll be a pretty good spread off that. That way we can go for Invisible Stalker and Phyrexian Dreadnought. It's another way to kind of deal some pretty quick commander damage. If we're looking to kind of get down a little bit of a better kind of value reanimator option, we go for Lord of the Void and get some good damage going, exile the top 7 cards of their library, and then put a creature card on them onto the battlefield. So it's always a lot of fun to get that going. Now, we do have Worldly Tutor to go for. We can put a creature on top of our library. Might end up going for Hedron Crab, hopefully to kind of get some good stuff going, because that'll really kind of open up our graveyard and really kind of start working towards hopefully hitting Life from the Loam. Once you do hit Life from the Loam with this particular graveyard, ends up being, with this particular deck, makes it a lot easier to get some stuff done. You know what? Let's go ahead and go for that. Let's go ahead and go for Worldly Tutor. Let's go for Hedron Crab. But actually, unfortunately, we should have tapped down Temple of Malady, so I do apologize. That's a misplay on my part. Let's go and grab Hedron Crab. Let's going to go on top. We should have gone for Temple of Malady because we would have been able to get it down. So let's go and get down Lightning Greaves. And we're going to get down Coliseum. So unfortunately, we're going to miss out on a few of those land drops with Hedron Crab if we were to sequence that one just a little bit differently, but that does happen. Let's hit F3 to get Lightning Greaves over onto Hedron Crab. There we go. And then anything else, we'll go and kick the turn back over to our opponent. So we did cover both commanders. It is free time, and we can talk about whatever we want. That's going to be the Mimeoplasm. Like I mentioned earlier, it is really easy to kind of win really quick with Mimeoplasm. So when I tend to play this deck, I tend to go for a little bit more of a fun value option. And stuff like Giant Bugface, man. I love it. You get those tokens going. It just makes for a really fun match. All right, opponent's going to be swinging across with Undead Alchemist. If a zombie you control will deal combat damage to a player, puts that many cards. So that's actually going to work out really well to our favor. And they're going to end up with a lot of 2/2 zombies on the battlefield, which will be pretty good for our opponent. But hopefully, we end up getting Life from the Loam going. Oh, no, excuse me. And if a creature card is put into an opponent's graveyard and exile it, and they're going to get a 2/2 black zombie. All right, so that's not too good for us, but thankfully, we got our Buried Alive off pretty quick, and so that'll allow us to kind of start going from there. One thing that we can do is if things get a little bit nutty, if we want to get rid of that Undead Alchemist, we can go for Life's Finale to kind of destroy what we've got going on in the board state, and then we'll kind of search up whatever sort of reanimated targets we want to put into our opponent's graveyard. Okay, opponent's going to go for Crypt Gas. Whenever you tap a swamp, add double black to your mana pool. And they're going to get down Cellar Door. Oh, I love this card. I always want to kind of run it into some sort of, if I have room for it in the deck, but it's always a lot of fun. With Cellar Door, target player puts the bottom card of the library into the graveyard. If it's a creature card, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. I don't know. It's one of those, I mean, it's got 3 mana activation. Usually there's better stuff you can be doing sometimes, but I don't know, it makes for fun sometimes. Let's go ahead and get down Marsh Flats. Okay, so it's going to be Torrent Elementals on top of our library. Excuse me, this is the Exile Zone. I was trying to figure out why we had some sort of top of our library zone. But that is our Exile Zone. Oh, that's it. We can cast Torrent Elemental out of the Exile Zone. Okay, pretty cool. Let's go ahead and get down Marsh Flats. Let's go and target our... Do we want to target our opponent on this Hedron Crab trigger? I don't think we want to give them any extra zombies. Yeah, I think we want to do that. So let's go and target Hedron Crab with our opponent on this one. Now, that does leave us open to go for Invisible Stalker and Phyrexian Dreadnought. We're looking at a 2-turn clock coming across. Is that exactly what we're going to go for? We could go for Lord of the Void and start to kind of build our own zombie board state. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go for Mimeoplasm. We'll be able to shift Lightning Greaves over onto Mimeoplasm, but let's go for Lord of the Void. Man, it's fun to get commander damage with a Mimeoplasm, but when I play this, I want to go for Reanimator. So we're going to choose this to make a copy of it, and we'll still go and put the +1 counters from Phyrexian Dreadnought on there too. So we're going to go for that. Then hopefully we'll get a pretty good creature off that. Let's go and shift the Lightning Greaves over onto Lord of the Void. Let's go and swing across for a 19/19. Alright, there we go. Come across for 19. It's going to knock our opponent down pretty low, and we'll also get that Lord of the Void trigger, which is going to be really nice to see. Oh, look at that. Okay, Lord of the Accursed. Let's go and grab Whispering One. Shieldred, yeah. Yeah, I like that. Let's go and grab Whispering One. We'll be able to get that down. Beautiful flip off that Lord of the Void. Anything else, we'll go and pass the turn to our opponent. You can definitely see how... you know, you can get down Invisible Stalker and go for the Phyrexian Dreadnought counters on there. But you get down something like Lord of the Void, and it's just a beautiful Reanimator target. Look at the top 7 cards of their library. Have a lot of fun from there. And also with Whispering One, it's also going to allow us to start bringing some stuff back out of the graveyard. So it allows us to go for Fauna Shaman. Creature card put in their opponent's graveyard from their library. Okay. So what we can do is we can still go for a Fauna Shaman activation if we end up bringing that back with a Whispering One. So we bring that back with Whispering One, that's going to allow us to still chunk some of these cards into our graveyard, something like Simic Sky Swallower and Giant Bugface. We can get those into the graveyard and then kind of reanimate them. Opponent's going to go for Fleshbag Marauder. Yeah, we're going to sacrifice Hedron Crab, unfortunately. All right, opponent's going to scoop it up on this one. I don't blame them. You get down to 19/19 pretty quick, and that's one of the downsides to playing Mimeoplasm 1 versus 1. If you just don't have any sort of graveyard removal, it ends up making for a pretty one-sided game pretty quick sometimes. So definitely shout out to our opponent for playing these games. I know it's kind of frustrating sometimes, so I definitely do appreciate at least allowing us to kind of get down Lord of the Void and swinging across. So really do appreciate that. It's always fun to kind of play against Grimgrin too. So, and really that's kind of what we're going for, is just to get down a big dumb creature and swing across and see what kind of mess we can get into. But we did get down Shieldred, which is always kind of fun. It actually works out perfectly with what we've got going on. But good game to our opponent. Definitely enjoyed it. And if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye. Welcome to the Mimeoplasm, the official 1960s horror monster. As far as opening hand goes, yes, we're going to keep it. I like it. We have 2 lands in our hand. We have Lightning Greaves, some good protection for the Mimeoplasm to kind of swing across and chase the people in the horror monster movie. And then some other really good options in Phyrexian Dreadnought and Mr. Giant Bugface. Let's go ahead and get down Woodswept Heath. Let's go ahead and go for... let's go and grab the green. Let's grab what is it? The green black land. I'm just drawing an immense blank on this one, but we'll get that one down, and then Bayou. There we go. Get down Bayou. Let's go. Oh, there we go. Let's make this just a little bit bigger. I don't like it when we have baby cards. Let's go ahead and go for Phyrexian Dreadnought. It's going to enter the battlefield. It will die. Basically, we don't have 12 power on the battlefield, but the main thing is that we want Phyrexian Dreadnought in the graveyard, so that's a-okay for us. And so we're going to go ahead and pass the turn to our opponent. Once down, Phyrexian Dreadnought does get sacrificed to its own ability. Okay, goes in the graveyard, then we're going to go and pass the turn to our opponent. We are playing the Mimeoplasm, the official 1960s horror monster. As the Mimeoplasm enters the battlefield, you may exile 2 creature cards from graveyards, and that will include our opponent's graveyard. If you do, it enters the battlefield as a copy of one of those cards, and then enters the battlefield with additional +1 counters equal to the power of the other card. Playing against Grimgrin, Corpseborn, which reminds me, I need to play my my Grimgrin deck. It's been a long time since I've played it. Always really enjoyed it too. Let's go and get down Flooded Strand. Do you want to go and go for Buried Alive already? Yeah, let's go and do that. Let's go and crack Flooded Strand. Let's go and grab a black-green source. Black-blue source. Let's go and grab Underground Sea. Let's go and get down Mana Crypt. Let's go and go for Buried Alive. It's going to be 1-2. And then we'll probably grab something that's a little bit more value-based off of this particular spread. So let's go and grab Lord of the Void. Yeah, I like that. It's one of my favorite reanimators to go for. Let's go for Lord of the Void. Let's go and get Lord of Extinction going into the graveyard too. And let's go and grab one more Protector. Let's go for Invisible Stalker. So that actually worked out really well, Phyrexian Dreadnought. Then anything else will kick it back over to our opponent. So as far as what we're going for right now, we're probably going to go for Lord of the Void off Mimeoplasm. One of the downsides to playing Mimeoplasm is that you can end up with a really powerful creature on the battlefield really quick, especially some fast mana like Mana Crypt and stuff like that. So if we are going to get down Mimeoplasm, I tend to go for something that's a little bit more kind of value-based, and Lord of the Void is definitely one of my favorite reanimator targets to go for that. So we'll try to do a little bit of setting up to let our opponent get caught up too. Let's go and choose Tails on this one. One the flip, 1-for-1 on our Mana Crypt triggers, and we draw into Polluted Delta. Yeah, let's go and go for it. It's not going to have haste, and it does leave us open to some sort of spot removal. Yeah, let's do this. Let's go for Lightning Greaves first. It's going to be 1-2 off Mana Crypt. If they do have some spot removal, I'd like to get down Lightning Greaves and get our creature protected. And I want to swing it with Lord of the Void if possible. So we're going to get down Lightning Greaves, and then we'll just go and pass the turn and then kick it back over to our opponent. We're playing against Grimgrin, Corpseborn. Enters the battlefield tapped and does not untap during your untap step. Sacrifice another creature, untap Grimgrin, put a +1 counter on it. Then whenever it attacks, destroy target creature and defending player controls. Then put a +1 counter on Grimgrin. So one of my favorite like mental things to kind of imagine in Magic is, when Grimgrin attacks, you sacrifice a creature, you get a +1 counter on it, but you destroy target creature and you get a +1 counter. It always reminds me of like a Resident Evil game when they go for the like I can just see Grimgrin coming down the hall as they like throw that big whatever that thing he's holding, like a shepherd's hook or something on a chain, but he like, I don't know, I just love imagining it like in a Resident Evil setting where you're like trying to mash the A button to get away from Grimgrin, so it's always fun when I see that. We do have Carrion Feeder swinging across for 1. That will knock us down to 27, and then we are looking at Liliana Death's Majesty. Return target creature card from your graveyard. They've actually got Undead Warchief, which is actually a pretty good option to go for that -3, so we might end up going for Lord of the Void to take care of Liliana, so especially now that we do have Lightning Greaves down. Let's go and choose Tails on this one. Lost a flip, 1-for-2 on our Mana Crypt triggers, and we draw to Splendid Reclamation. It's going to be 1-2 onto the battlefield. How do we want to do this? Yeah, let's go and go for Lord of the Void. I like that. Let's go for Mimeoplasm. Actually, let's go and crack Polluted Delta first. And let's go and grab Tropical Island. Let's go and get that down. Let's go and go for Mimeoplasm. It's going to be 1-2, then tap down for Sultai colors. Did we not tap? I thought I tapped down blue on one of those. There we go. It always drives me nuts whenever you tap down for triple colors and you tap down for 1, but apparently we didn't. Let's go for Lord of the Void being a copy of 1, and then choose this to be a copy, and then we'll have Lord of Extinction enter the battlefield as counters on that. Well, actually, that'll put us at 7-7. I want to definitely hold on to Visible Stalker. Let's go and exile Undead Warchief. I like that a little bit better. So we're looking at an 8-8. Let's go and get Lightning Greaves onto Lord of the Void. And then we're going to go ahead and swing across at Liliana and take care of her. Okay, let's go and swing across for an 8-8. It's going to take care of Liliana and still leave a couple zombies on their side of the battlefield. Like I mentioned, we're here to have some fun. With Mimeoplasm, we could have basically kind of closed the game out. We get down Lord of the Void, get down Phyrexian Dreadnought. Actually, if we go for Lord of Extinction, get down not Invisible Stalker, but Phyrexian Dreadnought, end up with a lot of +1 counters on there. Oh no! Thought it was going to have Fleshback Marauder. Okay, so it's going to take care of Lord of the Void. It's going to send it back, unfortunately. But we can work next turn towards going something. But yeah, we're here to have some fun. It's you know, at the end of the day, we're playing Commander, so I'm not trying to win the game as quickly as possible. So we could have, yeah, basically we would have gone for Phyrexian Dreadnought plus the other counters. That does leave at least another blocker out there, but I like going for stuff like that. It makes it fun sometimes. Let's get Mimeoplasm pop back up. Let's go and choose Tails on this one, Mana Crypt. One the flip, 2 for 3 on our Mana Crypt triggers, and they're drawn to Bloodstained Mire. Let's go and get down Bloodstained Mire, and yeah, let's go and get the mana going. Let's go and crack Bloodstained Mire. Let's go and go for Splendid Reclamation. That's really going to open us up as far as getting a bunch of these lands back. We're going to have Watery Grave. Actually, let's go and grab do we want Overgrown Tomb? Yeah, let's grab Overgrown Tomb. Have that come into play tap. Not going to pay 2 life. And let's go and go for Splendid Reclamation. It's going to bring all these wonderful lands back onto the battlefield. I'll have a few more sacrifices, not sacrifices, but activations to go for, and then anything else we're going to pass the turn to our opponent. Now, if our opponent does have some sort of spot removal, we do have supernatural stamina in the hand. More than likely, we're probably going to end up going for Giant Bugface. This is another one of my favorite reanimator targets. We get that down. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, Lord of the Accursed, okay. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you can be able to create a token that's a copy of it, and it basically just kind of keeps replicating itself on the battlefield. You know, unfortunately, we are at turn 5, and our opponent's only sitting at 3 lands, so hopefully they get a little bit lucky and start to get a little bit more stuff going as far as land drops on their turn. So swinging across for 5, it's going to knock us down to 14. And let's go and choose Tails on this Mana Crypt trigger. One the flip, 3 for 4 on Mana Crypt triggers, and they've drawn to Herbor, which is actually going to work out perfectly with all of our fetch lands. You know what, let's go ahead and go for Giant Bugface. That sounds pretty fun. Let's go and get down Lightning Greaves onto Giant. Alright, let's go swing across for 7. It does have Shroud. That does leave us open to something like sacrificing, but since we're going to be able to deal that damage, that will allow us to get another copy of it on the battlefield. And then basically, like, the bugs just keep multiplying, and it's just such a fun card. I love it. And then it's basically just looking at a +1/+1. Alright, so we're going to deal that 3 damage to Lord of the Accursed, get a copy of Giant Bugface. Oh, there we go. Look at that. So nice. And anything else, we'll go and pass the turn back over there. Now, if they do have some sort of spot removal, we can go for Supernatural Stamina, but since this is a token, it won't count, and we can't target this one with Shroud, so at least it's going to allow us to kind of get our board state going. All right, but let's go to scoop it up on this one. Unfortunately, sometimes definitely shout out to our opponent. They did not hit their land drops, so if I post this video up, it's only just to kind of show off how quick Mimeoplasm can get going. You know, it's not fair to our opponent that they were stuck on 3 lands and they couldn't really get anything going. So if you do end up seeing this video on YouTube, basically I just wanted to kind of show off what's possible with Mimeoplasm, how quickly you can get some really good stuff going. We were looking at Phyrexian Dreadnought. You know, we get that down turn 1, it sacrifices itself. We definitely could have kept that going with Lord of the Extinction and basically had 21 points of commander damage coming down really quick. So, but you can also build Mimeoplasm in a fun way, like we tried to get Lord of the Void going. It's always a really fun reanimator target to go for, and Giant Bugface is really fun too. So, but opponents, we're going to get it on this one, and if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.